how we do it, right? All right, so we should be recording. I should have AI working to keep our running transcript. And I want to introduce my guest tonight, which is Richard Pavese. Rich is Rich Landscaping. He's been in business for over 20 years. He started off in a basic landscaping, mowing lawns, and progressed all the way through into hardscape, and also has a good, a varied background in entrepreneurship. So, Rich, how are you tonight? And you ready to get started?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me. Um,
Absolutely.
I'm ready when you are.
All right. So the first question, I'm just going to give you a few questions on your background, your personal journey through entrepreneurship. So the first question I came up with is, can you tell me about some of your earliest memories of work or entrepreneurship and how those experiences shaped your later career?
All right. Um, I would say the earliest entrepreneurial thing I got into was literally raking leaves, and that was probably in fifth or sixth grade. It was for a lady named Mrs. Roy, who lived a couple blocks away. Um, and in the wintertime, I would go over there and I would rake leaves and put them in plastic bags. And then I think I got like $1 a bag. And I would put the
Great.
bags up by her curb. And then I would go knock on her door and say, "Hey, I got, 8 bags or 10 bags or whatever it is." That was like the first type of work I did in this industry. Um, and I
How
guess
did you get that job? How did you end up getting the
you know,
contract together?
I honestly think it was through like one of the other kids in the neighborhood. Like you would know, like Michael Quinn. So I think Michael
Um,
Quinn probably raked her leaves, and then he was like, "I'm not doing this anymore." And then somebody gave her my number, and then
ah,
she called our house line, and mom probably answered and said, "All right, you could probably rake this lady's leaves if that's what you want to do." Um, you learn real fast that it's easier to rake dry leaves and get that dollar per bag instead of wet leaves.
only someone raking leaves would know that too. Right? You'd have to break leaves for a while to figure that one out.
Yeah.
That's smart.
So it's funny though, the job took me like all winter long. There were so many leaves. I was so unprepared for it. It was like it was just crazy because all I had was literally black trash bags and a rake. Today I have leaf grabbers, I have big giant barrels, we have a dump truck to throw it in. We take all your leaves. So fifth or sixth grade was probably the first time I got into anything like this.
That's cool. That's cool. What once you got into it, what inspired you to start your own business to get going 20 years ago or so?
Um, I don't think any of that would teach us that we needed to work, right? Um,
Right.
and it was helping out a lady in the community, right? And then I didn't have any
Mhm.
sports during that time period in school, so it was like you have available time to do it. Um, Later in life, I guess I feel like I've always just wanted to work either for myself or with a partner. I never really wanted to work for anyone else. If I was going to trade my time for money, I wanted it to be on my time.
Right. That's good.
Instead of having to go to a 9 to 5. Um, so I just think it's something that was always in me. It was nothing that really ever kicked off an inspiration of, hey, I want to do this type of work or I want to get into this. It was,
So it was more like as a young kid, you realized you wanted to work for yourself and that's what you went for.
yeah, yeah, and I always knew I wanted to work outdoors. That was another one. That was another thing that was kind of big for me was being able to be outside. I like the elements. I like fresh air. I just like being outdoors. Not a fan of offices or warehouses or anything of that nature.
You still like being outdoors after all
Yeah.
these years?
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Takes a beating. You take a beating from the outdoors.
It
You know,
does.
the wind one day is your friend, and then the next day it's not. So,
Yeah, that's true, especially in Cape May area.
well, yeah, like I mean, sometimes there's like 20-mile-an-hour winds for 5 days, you know.
Right.
And on the first day, you're like, oh wow, this feels great. And by the fifth day, your face is bright red. You're just over it. You're
Yeah,
trying to
wind
escape it.
burnt.
Yeah. So it's like in the summer when the wind blows out the humidity, you're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. But then in the winter, when it's like a 20 degree, when it takes
Yeah.
the temperatures down to 20 degree and it's a stiff northwest or northeast wind on you, now you truly hate it.
Yeah.
So,
It's
but
amazing
that's,
when when you work outdoors, how much you have to pay attention to the weather.
oh yeah, it's nonstop on the weather app.
Yeah.
Watching storms come over. What how do I have to pack everything up? Should I leave? Should I stay? Do we start late? Do I start early?
Right.
It's just one of the things that you deal with.
How do you think your any education or training that you've had that might have prepared you or even failed to prepare you for running your business?
Um, I, I've never taken. I took some business classes at Rutgers, for landscaping, and it was to get a certificate. I took 3 of them, and I never went back to get it.
Okay.
So honestly, like for me in this field doing landscaping, um, I've never had to do any education for it. It's all literally like hands on. So before we started this video, I'm getting ready to give a quote for a Belgian block border, which I've done them before, but they want it jointed. So each piece that meets, they want that joint, join it with cement. Um, I've never done that for some reason. No one's ever asked me to do it. And now all of a sudden I have 2 projects that people want that done. So literally before the call, I was on YouTube looking up how to joint Belgian block. Um,
Hmm.
and it's funny because as they're doing it, and I watch a lot of This Old House. This Old House they know what they're talking about. They really do. Um, they were man, I already forget the name of the tool. It's a tie tool. So they were tying a piece of rebar, which I've never put my rebar. I never put rebar with a Belgian block border, but they were trying to make this thing like extra strong so that the border would not break or give. But he had this little tool and he hooked the tie wire and it turns. So he can just turn this tool and it tightens down the tie wire. And I have the tool, but I've never used it. So I've never had to
Ah,
use it. I've never used it. But just right then and there, that's your education. So
yeah.
that is, oh wow, I recognize that tool. And then I watch them use the tool. So now I not only have it, but now I know how to use the tool. So the
Yeah.
education is either hands-on or it is when you're researching how to do a job. I do a ton
Right.
of work that I don't know what I'm doing. And, I really do. I mean,
Yeah.
but you have to learn and you have to be ready to just push yourself into doing that type of stuff. So I feel
You
like it's
can't
all
be
hands
afraid to
on.
jump into it, right? You got to
You can't
jump
be.
into it.
I
And
mean, you can be as scared as you want, but don't let that hold you back. Right.
right.
Because I mean, there's been some jobs that I go to do that I'm like, this is way out of my league. Like I don't know how to do this. I'm always scared going to a job. I feel like, I'm excited and scared. And, there's a lot of parts when you're in any business. So you're just kind of hoping everything works out. Right.
Right.
Um,
So you did get an education, but your education is hands-on, on the go, learn as you go, and not a formal education, but just as valuable in the sense that it's helping you each step of the way.
yes. And I would say like in landscaping in this business, it's not just the education on how to install what you're doing. There's the education on invoicing. There's the education on, um, collecting your payments from the client. there is the marketing aspect, there's all your standard operating procedures that you should have. There's the finances aspect, knowing where your money's going.
Yeah.
So it's a broad education, put it like
Yeah.
that you need to teach yourself. I mean, or you, if the classroom does it for you, I highly recommend going and taking a business class. No doubt about it. If
Right.
it's going to help you, do it. For me, classrooms were always just very difficult.
Right. How about were there any particular challenges along the way you faced as you first got into the industry, the landscaping industry? And if there were challenges, how did you work to overcome them, to work around them and get through it?
Um, so when I first got into this industry, I worked for a carpenter. I worked for a carpenter in Cape May. I worked for him for a couple years, and then I wanted extra money. I had just bought a home, and my house needed the grass cut. So I ended up financing a lawnmower from someplace up the road. So I financed this mower. I now can cut my grass. So it takes me less time to cut my grass. Um, and then our dad got me like one of my first customers. Now keep in mind, I had cut grass since I was a little kid. Since I was in my 20s, it was either for me or for somebody else. Like, so I'd always been doing it. So it wasn't something new. Um, I had a 54-inch Husqvarna lawnmower sit down, which is a big mower.
Hmm.
And this guy had like an acre of lawn that needed to get cut.
Oh, wow.
So I think it was me and dad split a trailer, and the trailer might have been like 2 grand. So I had the $1,000. He put in the other 1,000. He also used the trailer. He used it for his motorcycle. So we kind of split it, right? Um, and I used that trailer to go up and cut that dude's grass up the road. Um, which I mean, it worked out pretty good because people would see you, and that's how you kind of, hey, I saw you cutting grass the other day. Oh, so I ended up working for the carpenter, and then I probably had like 10 lawns. And I would go out Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and cut the lawns. And then Saturday night, I had to go hang out with my buddies or whatever. Sunday was my full day off, and then I went back to work Monday. Um, that carpenter passed away. So I did not have enough lawns to go full time. But what I did was I went and I got a bartending job. So I bartended at night to make the money. And then when people would come into the bar, oh, well, what do you do? Oh, well, I got a lawn care business. So
Mm.
I started just telling everybody I was cutting lawns. And I kid you not, I went from having 10 lawns to like 25 to 40 to 50. And it just grows. You start telling people what you're up to and what you're doing, and yeah, I'm taking on customers. They'll tell somebody else, or they're, especially if they like you. If they think
Right.
that you are an honest, good guy, they're gonna be like, dude, get that dude work. You know. Um, so it was difficult in the beginning getting enough work. And then I eventually left the bartending job. Um, and I only bartended 2 nights a week, and that was at another bar, but I got to start later. So, I got to cut a little later. I got to cut till about 3:30, go home, shower, get dressed, eat, go to the night job. And then, so there are hardships in the beginning. I just feel like you gotta work through them. And I feel like
Right.
a lot of guys, a lot of entrepreneurs, that's how they start their businesses. They have a 9 to 5 job that they either do after work or on the weekends. And then once they know that it's going to take off and they're going to be able to make money, that's when they go to their job and they're like, "Yo, I'm out of here."
Right.
You know, um, for me, if Matt McGraw, if the carpenter never passed away, I would have never really pushed to get back into lawn care. But since it was like, oh, he's gone, what do I do? And even the bartending gig, that was through friends. I knew them. And I went to them and was like, hey, I need a job. And they were like, all right, yeah, they needed a bartender,
Right.
which that was a great job too. Um, but yeah, that supplemented the income in the beginning.
So they
Um,
say necessity is the mother of all inventions. So your necessity was once that job disappeared on you, you had to get something up and going a little more significantly. But
Absolutely.
yeah. And another challenge sounds like is you're working two jobs. You're working
Yeah.
one job to pay the bills, and the other job is to try to get this business up and running.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's just funny, like hardship and entrepreneurialism and business, they're like linked. They're hand in hand because it ain't easy.
Right.
There's always going to be hardships, so you need to be a problem solver. Um, one hardship story was I remember one day getting ready to go out and cut a couple lawns and I had a flat tire on the trailer.
Oh,
Well, I didn't even have a wrench to get the lug nuts off, right? I didn't even have a jack. I had no way to change this tire. So then I had to go run out to the auto parts store, buy all this stuff, um, go back to the house, go back, try to jack this up. I had to take the mowers off, jack this trailer up, get this tire off. And then once you get it off, now, you know, do you know how to plug a tire? Because if you don't know how to plug it, now you got to go take it somewhere. And I don't know the last time you took a tire somewhere, they're not going to fix it right there in front of you.
right.
You're going to wait for it. Um, so I just remember a day where that happened, and it was literally all day it took to get this tire back and put back on this trailer. And once it was back on the trailer, tight, ready to roll, I had to go bartend. So no money
Right.
was made, no lawns were cut. Now you're behind. So
Right.
if you can't handle the hardships, like you're don't go
Yeah.
into business, like, because
Right.
it's what it is. It's a wave of ups and downs.
Yeah. You just have to ride that wave, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can't let the hardship get you down and stop you from, you just got to keep moving forward.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Flat tire, what needs to happen? You need a new
Yep.
tire. You need to get it fixed, right? How do you fix it? It's all just going back to just
Yeah.
follow the steps.
Yep. The next few questions that I have are on how you kind of developed your business.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one of those is how did you decide, you started off cutting lawns, but how did you decide which services to offer in the beginning and that allowed you to move and evolve over time from lawns to patios and driveways and stuff? How'd you decide which way you were going to?
So, obviously, like lawns were like the easiest. Go out, you cut the grass. Believe it or not, there's people that can't do that, but that's a different story.
Right.
But lawns were the easiest. It was the quickest way to make money. You could go out and make $120 cutting three lawns for $40, right? So it was fast. But then as you pull up to these properties, whether it's weekly or biweekly, your customers might want something else done, right? And I was never one to like turn down money or work because it was always like, well, I mean, if the lady needs her gutters clean, can I got to get a ladder from somewhere, or maybe she's got a ladder, or, it was kind of like, you just kind of get into it. Right. So it's like lawn care. Okay. She needs her shrubs done. All right, let's clean her shrubs up. Let's clean these gutters out. Now next thing she's calling you in the springtime and she wants mulch, right? So you're like, all right, let's do mulch. I mean, I remember at one time mulch was like my moneymaker. I was charging $110 to install a yard of mulch, and I think I was getting it for maybe like, I don't even know, $20. Because I found a place up the road. So I could get the dump truck full for like $100 and then just go do all these houses and make hundreds of dollars off of $100.
Wow.
Granted, I had the truck to get me there, but mulch at one point was like my my thing. And then I think it evolved into like, hey, we want to do a garden bed here. So it's like, all right, well, we got to remove all this grass. Let's take all this grass out of here. Let's pick plants, and then you're going to follow up with the mulch. And then I think it went into like borders. Can you do a Belgian block border? Can you do this paver stone border? And I was, like I said, I was never one to turn down work. So I just, from borders, it went to a walkway. From a walkway, it went to a patio. Until, you end up getting bigger jobs, and yeah, they're scary, but you just kind of go with it. I guess like your 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 the demand of your customer helps you evolve,
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
right?
It's what the customer wants, and over time you want to keep working, so you jump in.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. That's the entrepreneurial spirit in lots of ways too, though, because you're not afraid if the customer's asking, you're going to give it a shot.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Or if it is something that you like, you're like, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that. I was always big on like customer care. Because I really do care for the people's properties that I am working on. And you can create some of the best relationships. So if I can't do it, let me find somebody that can do it for you. Right. And then that can also lead into, well, hey, I found the guy, but you might be able to be the middleman and tack on a 10% if this guy's willing to let you GC the job. Like if it's something you don't do, but now the customer wants some other stuff done as well, you can hire somebody else to come in to paint the staircase that you installed. And then, I'm going to do the walkway after he's done painting, you know?
Right.
So it just gets wrapped into one thing, but it's all about, you just help your customer.
Yeah. I mean, we might have already answered this next question, but it kind of rolls right into it, which is it sounds to me, it says, what role did the customer feedback play? And it sounds like customer feedback had a lot to do with the direction your business took.
So it's like I said, maybe it's not like their feedback. Like I don't ever ask them. The only thing I ever ask a customer is, are you happy at the end? Are you happy with the work that's done? And I ask everybody that. Like, I don't care what I did for you. Are you happy with what I did? Are we good? Everything's good. And like that's all the feedback I need is, yeah, we're looking great. Thank you, Rich. You know, but like
Right.
I said earlier, it's the demand, it's what they want, and like here in Cape May, the demand is high. This is a beachside seasonal resort town that, I always joke with the other landscapers is like, we're like the landscape capital of America. Like,
Ah,
it's just crazy here. There's dump trucks, and everyone's cutting grass, everyone's mulching, everyone's a landscaper. It's wild. Um,
sounds competitive too, though.
so it is competitive, but there's a high demand, and I guess it depends on how you look at your competition, right? Um, Early on, I thought everyone was my competition, but now I'm at a point where like there's so much work out there. It's up to you.
Ah,
It really is. There's enough work for everybody to eat. There really is.
that's interesting. And just so everyone knows who's listening to the interview, Rich is in Cape May, New Jersey, exit 0 off the Garden State Parkway. So it's a resort area. Um,
It's a Victorian seaside town,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
So everything's old, everything's historical. Um, it's just it all needs major upkeep, all of it. Like there's a ton
Yeah.
of one of the big things down here is painting businesses. There's a ton of painters because Cape May is so Victorian, they don't allow you to install like plastic board.
Right.
There's not a lot of people in the historic district that have vinyl siding. So they have wood siding that needs to get power washed, fixed, painted. There's a lot of work. I mean, so customer demand, I've painted people's fences. Um, I have one old guy that I'm probably going to paint the front of his house in October,
Uh,
um, because he's just a good person. He's old. Um, he has gotten me some really good jobs. like some really good ones. So for him, I'm willing to do anything. I'll do
Right.
whatever it takes, like let's keep them happy. And it just helps you, it helps them. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Goes around, comes around.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And that's interesting because that means you're going be above and beyond what you really typically do for the customer.
So like, I don't know, there's times that I don't want to do it, right? Like I don't really want to do that job. I just turned down a job, which is the first job I think I've turned down in forever. It was
Wow.
just getting to a point where um they didn't want to get permits. They're in a high visible area to not want to get permits, but if in order to do what he wants to do, um, which is use some plastic board, um, he can't get permits.
Right.
Which I could care less about the permits. I just don't want it coming back on me. And it's just the job was just something I don't really do. It was removing
Right.
a ton of posts, old fence posts in someone's backyard. They had a pool, so once the fence comes down, there's the liability of the pool. Then the product he wants to put up, he's not allowed to by the city.
Right.
So if we're not getting a permit, that kind of creates an issue. Um, I just turned it down.
Yeah, it sounds like you made the right decision
It was
on
it was
on
just
that
getting
one.
to be too much. Um, and he was getting demanding as like, hey, did you come up with a price yet? Did you come up with a price yet? And I had at one point given him a price, and then like he wanted to add something to it. And I'm like, what the heck, man? Like, you know, not everyone is thinking like, oh, Rich is sitting at home at 8 o'clock tonight doing estimates after working all day.
Right.
So it's like, oh, they just want to add one thing on. They don't think it's a big deal because they're not in business for themselves, right?
Right.
It's understandable.
Looking back, was there a moment when you realized you said you were working odd jobs and you built up to a certain point. Was there a moment when you realized this was going to be able to be a business for you? This was going to take off for you?
Yeah, yeah. Um, there was a couple times early on that I had to like hire a couple guys to come work with me. Like whether I was backed up from lawns and we had to go cut like I don't know 50 lawns in 2 days or something, right? It was when I had to ask friends to come and help me work that I was like, wow, this is really taken on. And then I'm very goal oriented. So at one point, I think when I was around like maybe 65 lawns, something like that, all I really wanted was 100 lawns. I wanted 100 lawns, 100 lawns. And then I think I had gotten up to 125. And I started to realize it wasn't how many lawns you had, it was the type of customer, um, maybe even the area that you're cutting lawns in. And then now I wanted lawns that wanted full maintenance packages. So I wanted customers that were like, hey, Rich, you got us for a spring cleanup, right? You're going to trim all the shrubs and get everything. And I was like, yep. You're going to edge the beds. Yep. You're going to mulch. Yep. All right, cool. Can you turn our sprinklers on? Yep. It's like, it just, they, that full maintenance package is one customer can earn you $5,000 for the season. You know,
Right.
they could earn you more. They could earn you maybe lawn care has looked at it like roughly $1,000 you make off of one customer for cutting for a season, right? Because it's like average lawn's 40, $50, whatever, how many times you cut it throughout a summer month or throughout the spring, summer, fall season. But it's all the other add-ons that was making money. So after I got 125 lawns, I found somebody that was starting out and I basically gave them 25 lawns.
Ah,
Um, and now I was back down to 100, but I was moving out of an area that I knew didn't really make me a lot of money, which was off of the island of Cape May. So then
right.
over the years, I made it so that I had 100 lawns on the island of Cape May. And then that was huge for me because, you could cut 100 lawns in roughly 4 days. And then you had a free day to go weed beds, to go mulch, to go trim, to go, do whatever other work. And you need that extra day. You take Friday, Saturday to go start the projects. And then because Monday you're going back to lawn care. Um, but yeah,
So
there
you
was
were,
definitely a time period that I was like, this is gonna work. Um, and then I feel like shortly after that, that's when I had a job working 3 nights a week bartending, and I went down to the 2 nights a week because I was like, I need more time out of my day to work for me instead of bartending. And it was getting hard. How many doubles do you really want to work?
yeah,
And bartending keeps you up late at night, and lawn care is the type of thing where you got to get up early and get out there. Um,
you're
so
burning the candle at both ends at that point.
yeah, which honestly, I think everyone should do that.
Right.
I think that distills hard work in people, and it shows you, I don't know, what you're made of, and I don't know, like no one ever said it's going to be easy. So get out there and get to work. Like
No.
go work 2 jobs. If you don't make enough money, or if you want more money, right? Like go get another job. You know, I don't.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Right. Yeah, it is in a way. How did you, this is a question I think a lot of people would be interested in, especially people who are just starting off who want to be a business owner or entrepreneur. How did you end up financing? Did you self-finance? Did you use a local bank, take a loan? How did you make that work? Because
Um,
this equipment isn't cheap.
so it's not cheap. The first mower I bought, I think, was like maybe a $5,000 or $6,000 mower. It was that Husqvarna, and I bought it at like a power supply place, and they offered financing. So obviously, like palms are sweating. You're getting ready to sign over this agreement where you can ruin your credit or whatever. Um, but I think in times like that, you just need to look at how it's going to benefit you, right? Because it's easy to talk yourself out of spending a bunch of money on some major investment. Um, but all the mowers are all come with financing. All heavy equipment does. So if you want to go buy a Bobcat kids skid steer, you can finance it through Wells Fargo. That's who Bobcat uses. It's their terms. They just put the terms out in front of you. You read through them, decide what way you want to go, and then that's how it is. I also bought a lot of cheaper stuff from like Lowe's or Home Depot. So that's where I bought my first weed whacker from. That's where I bought my first edger. That's where I bought my first backpack blower. It was all like that low grade stuff where I just told myself once I make some money, I'll buy the steel or the upgrade, because you're gonna need doubles of everything.
Right.
Literally, and if you don't need doubles, you need triples or quadruples, depending on how much business you're going to handle. But you always need backups. So it was like, let me get this cheaper stuff. Let's get that going. And then it's always like, you're always got your eyes out. Like driving down a road, you're looking for a trailer. And those bartending jobs helped me save cash.
Right.
So if I could find a trailer for $1,000 or $2,000 or $800, and it was the size I needed and it was in decent condition, now we got a mower on a trailer, we got our weed whackers, our blower, we're ready to go. So it was like a lot of self financing, and a lot of just financing through the people that you can buy stuff through.
Right.
Um, I'm trying to think. I think I bought my first dump truck cash, and that was like 8 grand.
Good for you,
Um,
man.
and I drove like an hour and a half to go see it, and it was a young kid, and that's how we did it. And I still have that dump truck today.
Oh, wow. That's great. How you mentioned some of the ideas surrounding competition earlier, but did any of that competition in landscaping or hardscaping influence the decisions you made? Like, did you look at competition, say, "Hey, maybe I should do that," or "Hey, that's not the way to do it," something like that?
Um, so I tell myself I don't pay attention to the competition, but I'm always critiquing them, right? There's some local landscapers that have some pretty large businesses. Um, and you look at their work and they look good. Like their lawns are green, their flowers are bright, their hedges are trimmed, their mulch is clean. It doesn't have like all the clippings from the mower shot into it. They really take good care of their properties, right? Um, so it's not that I'm like competing with them. I don't look at it like that, but I need to bring my level of work up to their level, right?
Yeah.
Um, because that's how you're going to gain more customers. And then that's really how you're going to make more money, um, by just giving quality work, And if you don't know if your work is quality or not, compare yourself to the other guy, right?
Right.
And if you're doing what they're doing and your stuff is looking better, then you're doing a good job. If you're questioning your work and it's not looking that good, or you're just unsure, and you compare yourself to them and theirs looks better, there's something you might not be doing, right?
Right.
So it's, the competition's there. You just got to be careful of comparing yourself to them, and know
Right.
how to. Um, I will say, I feel like now, 20 years later, there's more competition.
Oh, wow.
Um, and I'm not trying to get into politics, but we've had an open border, and there's a ton of laborers in our country. In the state of New Jersey, you don't need to be a U.S. citizen to have a general contractor's license and go out and do work.
Oh, wow.
So that opened it up for a lot of people to go cut lawns or paint houses. So recently, I'd say in like the past, like let's say 2, 3 years, I've lost some bids, going to, people that are, you know, uh, bidding lower than me. Um, Now I don't know if I don't know if their quality of work is any good, so I
Right.
can't say anything about the quality of work. They might be bidding low because they just don't understand the numbers, um, or they're just starving and they want to do some work, you know.
Right.
So, but I don't worry about that. That's, you can't. I'm not going to worry about everybody else that gets a job that I think I should have got. Right.
Right.
Go out and give more bids. Like you'll
Yeah.
get more work,
Yeah. You still
advertise
got to
more.
keep moving forward, right?
Right. We're not going to stand still and pay attention to that.
The
So,
um the next few questions are on, looking at the market signals and how you make decisions. So the first one is, what are some of the market signals that you might pay attention to when making business decisions? Customer demand, with the shape of the economy, housing trends, the cost of materials, stuff like that.
um, so I don't really, I get, I don't think I really pay attention to the market or look for signals. Um, like I, when I'm slow, I'm slow. When I'm busy, I'm busy. Like I could be slow for a reason. I'll be honest with you. The past week I've been slow, right? So I started a project at my house,
Right.
to take up that time because it's something that I've been wanting to do, and I'm like, I'm not going to just not do anything. So let's get this project done, right? I always have a lull at the end of the summer, and then I pick back up. But I don't really pay attention to like a lot of market signals. But one thing I did notice, um, was that when it was an election year, I was real slow,
Hmm.
especially moving out of the summer and into like November, because November is like the cleanup time, right? Like you're doing fall cleanups for people, leaves, and then in Cape May, um, there's not as many people staying at the houses. So there's not as many people in town. So if you want something done, if you want to rip up that old concrete walkway, you're not going to do it in July, right? You're going to do it in November when all the renters are home, and when no one's in town.
Right.
So that answers that, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
How did you balance the need to keep prices? Like you mentioned, you go out and you bid on jobs, and sometimes you've lost jobs. But how do you balance that, the need to keep prices competitive with the rising costs of labor and materials? How do you figure out how you're gonna make that work?
Um, so I talk to other landscapers, right? Find out what they're charging per man. Um, find out what they're charging per square foot. I talk to painters and find out what they're charging for per man, right? Um, Cape May is a small town, so there's a lot of guys out there that you can talk to. And if you find the right guys that are friendly enough, you can have some really deep, good business conversations with them about pricing and estimating. Um, what I've started to do though, because I didn't bring this up earlier, but I no longer cut lawns and I strictly do like landscape construction, which is pavers, drainage, backyard renovations. Like, we'll install sod, I'll put in stone, whatever. Um, I started doing my estimates a little different. So I'll do a square foot estimate. I will do a day rate estimate. Like I'll do a time and materials estimate. So let's just say I run my numbers multiple ways
At the
before
time.
I decide on what number is going to represent the work I'm going to do there the best way. Um, and sometimes it's a lot of money to do something that you think is really easy to do. And there probably is an easy way to do it, but it's not the right way to do it. So therefore,
Wow.
the right way to do it makes the price double sometimes. Um, and it just is what it is. I mean, like I don't typically bend on my numbers all that much. When I give you an estimate, that's the estimate. Um, Occasionally I do have people, hey Rich, is there anything, what else can you do? I just had this happen. I stoned a whole front yard. And the guy was like, well, I didn't think I was going to be spending that much money. And I said, well, then let's do this. You know what the quote is. You already want me to do the work. Like we've already kind of finalized that deal. He's not giving this job to somebody else. Um, and then I said to him, I'm just going to charge you time and materials. So here's my labor price already set. And now if I don't use all that in material, like, this number is what I have set for material. If I don't use $1,000 in material and I only use 700, I'll take that money off and I'm just going to charge you for the materials. So I will
Hmm.
save you some money. I work with people that
Yeah.
um, deserve to be worked with.
Right.
Friends, family, you can create some really good rapport with customers. And what I tend to do, like people that give me a lot of work, maybe I'm a little easier on them with the price because I know that they're going to give me more work.
Right.
And that's
Yeah,
important,
that's
right?
giving up that 700 bucks on one job could mean 10,000 over the course of the next couple years.
Absolutely. And then,
Yeah.
I'm pretty upfront. So I'll straight up tell a customer like, yo, dude, um, I'm not scared of referrals. And then they'll
Right.
laugh, oh, yeah, I just talked to so and so. They're looking for something done, and then I'll be like, well, where you work at, unless I know where they work, I'm
Right.
like, well, don't be scared to tell people at work if they need anything done, give me a call. You got my number, just send them my contact information.
Yeah. I mean, they
So
say word of mouth is the best advertising.
it,
So,
it is the, it
yeah.
is the best form of advertising. No
Yeah.
doubt about it. No doubt about it. I don't
I
advertise.
agree. Right.
Like I got my name on my one trailer. I don't have a name on any of the three trucks I have. Um, I have Instagram and Facebook when I do make a post. I don't run any ads in papers. Um,
Wow.
I mean, you need to be out there doing the work, talking to people. What's that thing they say? Your network is your net worth. Um,
Right.
Makes a lot of sense, right?
You mentioned that I mean, you moved from mowing lawns to cleanups to mulching. So when you're deciding whether to expand services like moving into the patios and driveways and things like that, I mean, my first thought is the tools of the job change, so that's a decision. But what are some of the factors that influence your choices when you're going to take that job that you're not used to doing, things like that?
Um, so what made me choose to move into doing a different line of work?
Yeah, or
Um,
what are the decisions that you think you had to make when you were choosing to move into that other line of work?
I feel like it was an easy decision for me because I didn't want to cut grass anymore.
Right,
So I was looking for an out. Um, I was literally just getting tired of it. Um, it's very routine. It's very monotonous. Where are you going to be at Thursday at 1 o'clock? Oh, I'll be at Strawberry Lane because I cut 7 houses back there, and it takes me the rest of the day. I know where I'm at Monday through
right,
Friday, and I just, I wanted something more of a challenge. Um, and I wasn't afraid to buy the equipment or the tools of the trade to move into doing different work. I really like building. I like building and just construction. Where with lawn care, it's not much of that. Um, but lawn care is easy for the most part. I mean, I don't want to say it's easy because it's not easy; it's hard.
right,
But it's mentally easy. We're
right,
not doing the Pythagorean theorem uh, when we're cutting grass. Um,
right, right.
I used the Pythagorean theorem today, so
That's great. So you just mentioned again a key thing. You're not afraid to buy the tools. I mean, the tools make the job, make the man, so they say. Did you ever, are there tools you bought, or have you ever taken risks that you had to eat that didn't pay off, right? And if so, what's the lesson there?
Um, there's definitely been some tools I've bought. I just bought not long ago. I bought a Ditch Witch trencher that I knew a guy was selling, and I went and bought this, and I think I bought it for like $2,200. I used it on one job, and now it's sitting in a lot, and it's probably been sitting there for a year and a half.
Yeah,
So there's $2,200. The tool never made my money back, um, which is whatever. It's if you're not willing to take the risk, um, then you might not see the results you want if you're in business or in the entrepreneurial field of going into business.
yeah. No
You,
risk, no reward,
yeah,
right?
you need to take risk.
Yeah,
Um, it's funny. This reminds me of like years ago. I went to this with one of my friends. I went to this like thing up in Atlantic City, and all I really wanted to do at that time was get into like drop shipping, right? So drop shipping is like these people make the product. This person wants the product. They're gonna buy it from me. I'm gonna tell them where they're shipping the product. I don't even touch it. They ship it directly to the person. So you
huh,
create a middleman space with drop shipping. We go to this seminar, and me and my friend are in this seminar, and we weren't in there 10 minutes. We're sold. This is it. We're going to make tons of money. So they sell this like program to you. And um, it was a lot of money. It was like 4 grand. And, neither of us have that cash on us, but I had a credit card. So I was like, dude, you just pay me, I'll buy it, and then we'll split it, and then we'll start this thing, and we're going to make money anyway. Right. So this is like a no brainer. Well, we put the 4 grand into it. We spent a ton of time together trying to figure out how this thing works. Um, we never got it off the ground.
hmm.
I almost ruined my credit by doing it because he literally gave me the 2 grand in cash. And now I'm like, oh, well, I got 2 grand in cash. I'm out buying this, doing that.
Oh, wow.
And when the payments were coming in, I think like the first payment was like, let's just say it was $200. Well, I gave them like 600, and I thought I was good for the next couple payments.
Ah,
That ain't the case. So I began to ruin my credit until I don't know how I did it. I think eventually I took money in my savings and just paid off the whole credit card all in one shot. And I just took the hit. Right.
Right.
That's what you do. That business never got off the ground. Um, but like whatever, uh, lesson learned is maybe don't jump in right away. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sold. Yeah. Like here's $4,000. Take it. Take my money,
Right.
make a more educated guess. Um, but there's that fine line of no risk, no reward,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
just got to beware, just got to try to make the best educated decisions for yourself and your business.
Yeah, I agree. So we only have a few more questions, but how has your community or local culture influenced the way you mentioned you're in a Victorian town that's strict about things? How does that influence the way you run your business?
um I guess like it, that community is very needy, let's say. um and I was never really into like hurry up, let like how do I put this? So like you start getting all these customers on this island, and they're needy, right? So like this lady needs, because they're not here. The homes you're cutting, the owner is not there. It's renters. So problems arise. Hey, they never put the trash out. We have trash in the trash cans and it's full, overflowing. What do we do? Can you help? Um, so it made me kind of like be on call. So like you have like these tasks that just kind of pop up and you got to like kind of make that work for them. I
Yeah.
mean, you can deter them to somebody else, but they're your customer. Like, why give the money to somebody else when you can do it for them? It might not be what you do, but you're helping them, right? um that answers that, right?
Yeah. How do you, I'm just curious, how do you figure out when they like say, can you grab the trash, how much to charge? Like if you're not doing that, what do you say? If it took me an
You would
hour, it's a
either,
hundred bucks or
well, let's start at 100, right?
right,
It's trash. So trash is really not fun to deal with, right?
right,
And then when I get there, if there's trash like out of the trash bag all over the ground, like what the heck, man? Like I'll give you an example. One time, this is years ago, like way before the inflated prices we have today. But like a woman had called me and said this, hey, Rich, trash never got out. Can you go over there and take a look at it? Dude, I got there and it was like bad, like maggots, and
mm,
there's flies everywhere and it's just nasty. So I have like rubber gloves, and it was easier for me. I just took their trash cans. I took them to the dump. I dumped everything at the dump. Um, and then I brought their trash cans back, and then I literally like cleaned out their trash cans because it was nasty, and like, going that extra mile for somebody, I, isn't that what you would want done? Right.
right.
I would want
Nope.
that. Yeah, dude. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think I was, like probably a little agitated because it was like maybe a Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon where I thought I'd be done work or something.
Right.
But I charged them like $200. Maybe I think it was between 150. Maybe I charged them 175. It was between 150 and 200. So when I'm like in that, like, gosh, I charge them 150, but nah, man, I'm out here on a Saturday doing this. This is trash.
Right.
Clean their cans out. I should charge them 200. But then I'll just go, 175. I'll meet them right in the middle. Boom. There you are. There's the price. And they're not going to say no. And they're not even really going to question you on it. They're just going to say, yo, dude, is the trash out? And you're going
Right.
to text them back, trash is out. I clean the cans.
Right.
In the
Which
can.
they
That's why
never
it's
did, Tom.
$175,
Yeah.
right? I cleaned your trash cans. I sprayed them out. Everything's clean. They're flipped over. The water's running out. We're good.
Yeah.
Next renters are coming in. There you are.
Yeah, that's true too. They're making money, so
Yeah.
yeah. Um, we already talked about this really, but if you have any examples or something, that would be great, which is, how important has word of mouth or your reputation been to your company's growth?
Um, so word of mouth is everything.
Yeah.
And the follow up on that is, your quality of work is also everything, right?
Right.
So no one's really going to recommend so the higher quality of work I have, the more money I can charge, right? So when people see a really nice landscaping done, like, whoa, that's a really nice bluestone patio. You put that in? Oh, I put that in. You know, that referral is gonna, if that person refers you, um, they're gonna refer you to another customer that wants a high-end quality job because
Right.
that's what you're gonna get known for. If you just want to go out there and rake up leaves, but leave the leaves under the deck, like when I go to do a leaf job, all the leaves come out from underneath the deck. That's part of the job, dude.
Right.
Like do it right. But if you're going to leave them under there and then the homeowner sees that, you're not going to get the references for the big jobs or the high end, high money jobs that you may want because your
Right.
quality of work isn't there. Right. And the referral, that word of mouth is going to keep you at that bracket.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is
Quality,
important for you, right? Because you're in a multi-million dollar house island. So
absolutely. These
yeah.
people are wealthy.
Yeah.
Um, and they like quality work. They want good work. And I told you I gave that fence job up, ripping the post out and replacing all these posts. I was referred to that job because of my quality of work, because I keep
Right.
my job sites clean, um, because I'm meticulous at everything. Everything has to look good and be built to last. That's
Right.
just that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Everyone should strive for that.
Well, you're right. It makes perfect sense too.
I
Um,
mean, plus that way you've never ripped anyone off. Like you're not ripping
absolutely.
people off because it's the quality of work.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you view your role or the role of hard work, persistence, and personal values in your success?
So those things are hard work and persistence and the not giving up. That is the result of success,
Right.
right? Like doing those things is what makes you successful. If you're not going to be um persistent or consistent, right? Like if you're not just going to keep pushing on and doing it and giving it your best and working hard, your level of success may never be where you want it to be. I mean,
Yeah.
for me personally, this is just me. My level of success will never be where I want it to be because I always want the next level, right? And
Right.
I feel like most people are like that. You know, who's going to be the first guy that says like, I just want to have $100,000? When he gets $100,000, I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to want 101,000, and then he's going to want more than that. Um, so those.
If you give a moose a muffin, he's going to want a glass of milk.
There you are. There you are.
Do
But
you
but
read
those,
that book yet? Do you have that book?
I haven't read that one yet. Um, there's been um dozens of times that I've wanted to quit and give up and literally just not have a business. Um, but there's just something in the back of my head that tells me don't do that. You can't do that. I had a really hard time selling my lawns because it made me feel like I was quitting. But then when I kept analyzing it, I didn't want to do it. And I was having one hell of a time keeping the crew together to do it for me. So I just got to a point where it was like, you know what? I don't need it. I'm gonna live life on my terms, and it could have been a bad financial decision.
Right.
Um, but my hard work pays off because I'm just gonna keep working hard. I'm gonna stay consistent. I'm just gonna keep doing what I do and it will work. Right.
Right.
You gotta have faith in yourself, right?
Good. I think that's key. I do.
Yeah.
Do you see your business as contributing to the local economy, the community, and in what ways, beyond just the jobs that you do?
Um, I guess you could say like landscapers keep everything looking good, right? They keep all your commercial properties looking nice. The banks usually look good, like that's what landscaper, that's how they contribute right to their local community. Um Beyond that, I've just recently been trying to figure out some ways that maybe I can give back to my community, where it's more volunteer work that I'm not getting paid for. Um like whether it is like a beach cleanup, a kids program, uh, a scholarship donation, um, just simple things like that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I don't give back to my community. I feel like I'm just out here doing what everybody else is doing, and I'm not really
Right.
contributing. I mean, I make things look nice, but I don't really feel as that's contributing enough. So like I said,
Yeah.
just recently I've been trying to find some different things to do. Maybe even like a youth program, a kids program where you can show them gardening, you can show them how to plant seeds that grow into plants. That would be giving back.
Yeah.
Which I don't do that yet. I hope to. Um, I told you about the podcast, so like maybe it would be even be something like that people in the community could listen to, and maybe that could help someone.
Yeah.
You know,
Although I think you're right. I think you make a good point, which is because you're dealing with a town that has millions of people a year go through it. I mean, it is the landscapers, it is you guys who make sure when those tourists look around, they see a beautiful town that they want to come back to or tell their friends to go to. So,
yeah. In Cape May, flowers are very important. Annual flower planting is huge. Um, Green, crispy lawns are huge.
yeah.
So it does play that role of keeping it looking clean and high end,
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Like I said, it's a wealthy town, so it looks wealthy. Like everyone's contributing to keep it clean
Yeah.
and to keep it maintained. There's not leaves on every street corner. There's not trash on every street corner. The shrubs in front of houses are trimmed. The trees around houses are trimmed. Just in Cape May, I know that there's a tree service right down the street from me that they get the contract to do Washington Street. So they're trimming all the trees along Washington Street to make sure they're not touching houses, to make sure they're not touching wires, to make sure they're not low and hurting anyone, safety aspects of it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into keeping towns clean and nice. I remember
Yeah,
when
there
COVID
is.
was going around, somebody told me that they were like, "Hey, they're gonna shut down the landscapers." And I looked at him and was like, "Dude, they will never stop people from cutting grass." And he was like, "Well, they can." And I'm like, "Why?" Dude, I'm like, if you stopped people from cutting grass, do you realize the amount of bugs, mosquitoes are going to go, they're going to carry you off your porch. Like the grass needs to get cut,
Right.
like I'm not a big fan of green grass and lawns and stuff. I like plants. Um, but that stuff still needs to get cut.
Yeah, you're right. And they didn't shut you down, did
They
they?
did not. No, they
Yeah.
did not. It was a big buzz for like a week, and I even said, "Who is going to shut me down? There's going to be somebody. A cop is going to pull me over and tell me I need to go home to go in my house. No way.
Right.
Lawns need to get cut. Places need to
Yeah.
have upkeep and maintenance done."
Yeah, absolutely. The last question that I have for you tonight is what advice would you give to someone starting out today, thinking of your 20 years of experience and when you started out? What advice would you give someone starting out in landscaping or even another type of small business?
Um, I would say to anybody that is looking to get into business for themselves, know your business. Know, like if you're selling a product, know your product, know what you're selling, know it inside and out. Like I know my services that I provide, um, and I know how to solve people's problem like when I get there. So let's just say I offer like uh like drainage and runoff services. Um so when I get to someone's house, I know that service. I know how to do that job. So I know the service that I'm selling the person. You know, if I was selling like cups, I would know the cup, what type of metal it's made out of, what the paint is on there. Is it toxic? Is it not toxic? How heavy is this thing? Know your products, know what you're selling.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I guess, the more you know about your product or your business or your service, the better chance you have to survive.
Yeah.
Um, and I would also, like you got to have guts. You got to have guts. Like we were saying, if you don't risk it, you're never going to see the reward of it. Um,
Yeah.
so you got to be willing to fail. And what do they say? Fail forward, right?
Uh,
So learn from your failures, pick up a lesson. Like I said, I bought that thing that was $4 grand years ago. Lesson learned. Don't jump right into stuff. Do a little
right.
bit of research, which I probably should have done that, right? I probably should have done a little bit of research before I went up to this, this whole thing that they put on, um, and just drop it or take my credit card. So just
Right.
know,
Right.
um, know your products, know your service, um, learn to problem solve, um, because that is going to be your number one skill in business, is being able to solve your own problems, or being able to find the right person to solve the right problem, right?
Right.
If you're a restaurant owner and the plumbing goes, um, you may not know how to fix it because you're a restaurant owner, right?
Right. Right.
But know a plumber, have a plumber that you can call, that you can rely on, that can come and do it,
Yeah.
right? So have the people lined up and fit them into the positions that you need them for, and then just know your product for when you're going to go sell it.
Yeah.
Because that's it, man.
And be patient and persistent and consistent, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. You got to be patient. I don't know many people that jump right into it and become a millionaire overnight, right?
Right.
So it takes
That'd
a
be
little bit of
great.
time. And you can move the dial on time a little bit by how much work you put into it, right? And the right people that you put into the right positions to help you. Because a lot of it is the team around you helps build the business. Um,
Yeah. That's a good point.
like you're alone in entrepreneurial, in being a business owner, um, but you're not really alone, right? You do a lot of times have people that you can rely on, that
Yeah.
your employees, depending on how big your business is, um, all the people in your business play a crucial role. Delivery
Yeah.
drivers, right? If you got a product that you're selling, your delivery driver plays a pretty crucial role on getting your products delivered. You
Yeah.
know? So you got to fit the pieces in, and just don't give
Absolutely.
up. Keep going until you know, um, what what's the song? Uh, know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and know when to walk away.
Little Kenny Rogers. I remember that song. Well, listen, Rich, I appreciate it, man. I'm this was my first assignment of this type, the first time I've done this type of assignment. So I really appreciate you doing it with me. Like I said, when I saw it was an entrepreneurial interview, you were the guy I thought of. I
Cool.
don't think you can get more of an entrepreneurial spirit than you have. So I thought it'd be a great interview and a great way for me to ease into this first type of interview too. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
If
this
you
is the
don't
first
mind,
of mine too.
I'm gonna pause the recording and then we can wrap it up. All
All
right.
right. Yeah.